It's like we're running in circles, going around every day, getting stuck in the hurdles of yesterday. Don't you wanna go further, away from the fray? Let's not get stuck in our worries, we'll make our own way. Won't you come outside where the sunflowers bloom? Breathe in the air, look up to the moon. I'll meet you outside, away from the crowd. Just you and me together, it will all seem better outside. Just us in the sky. I will go wherever, I'll be yours forever. Are we part of this circus? Is it innate?
The breakfast hour.
Feels like a heavy burden,
Wellness Wednesday. Mikey
but
G.
I can't relate.
Can we go outside? That's
Do
the
our
song this
actions
morning.
even matter?
Question: do you want to go outside
Or is
this
this a
morning?
fate?
If you're right here in
At
Georgetown,
least
maybe
now
you
I'm
can
feeling
go
better.
outside because we have been given the all
I'm here to stay.
clear.
Won't you
We
come
have been given the all clear
outside?
since 4 a.m. for that's those of us that are in the Georgetown area. We have gotten the all clear, and of course, we are happy that, of course, we can have the opportunity to be here again one more time, Mikey G. Yes. Of course, if they're in the Georgetown area and they're up and about and ready for work, that is good. Joining us this morning, of course, is Dr. K, and of course, we are happy that she is joining us on this Wellness Wednesday. And I have to say, I feel well already. Morning, Dr. K. Morning. Also, it's official that my sound is not hearing you. It is official. So we're gonna quickly go to a commercial break, of course, while we get our sound sounding well. I think that's what we need to do this morning. Okay, let's try that again. Good morning, Dr. K.
Good morning.
Ah.
Oh,
Oh, morning, good morning, good morning. And of course, we are well right here in the Cayman Islands. We are saying we are feeling well because, of course, what's his name? Raphael?
Raphael just passed and just didn't, went to the south, went to the take a wide curve from the Cayman Islands, and of course, given the Cayman Islands a pass on this episode of hurricane season.
I
Because
feel,
can imagine that at the end, at the tail end of it, um, after all that has happened and passed, that Raphael have come and now done such a damage.
I don't feel anyway. I mean, you can stay afar and just wave, and oh, yeah, Smile and wave. Yeah, that's fine. I feel okay this morning. I'd rather be having the opportunity to go to work than being stuck indoors and trying to um, be comfortable with lots of electricity and water and those necessities. So I'm fine. We are yet to hear more from what's happening in the sister islands. But we are not here to talk about Raphael this morning. Dr. K, what do you have to share with us today?
Well, November is Alzheimer's month. November is Alzheimer's Awareness Month. And even though we have a lot of things to talk about on other topics, I decided to start the month with our awareness for persons living with Alzheimer's. So I want to say, what is Alzheimer's? So Alzheimer's is a brain disorder, right? And the sad thing about Alzheimer's is that it gets worse over time. What happens is that there is a buildup of these abnormal proteins in the brain. And these abnormal proteins grow and form plaques. So we know we have lots of nerve cells. What the plaques and the abnormal proteins do is that it prevents the nerve cell in one area from making contact with the other nerve cell. And that's how the function of the brain is affected. Because remember, the nerves make contact with each other and information is spread throughout the nerve cells. Now, if this is not happening, then the brain is not going to function. The other thing that it does too, it actually damages the nerve cells. The brain eventually shrinks, and the nerve cells become damaged. Usually, the plaques tend to be built up in the hippocampus area, which is the area in the brain that is responsible for memory, and that's why the first sign of dementia is that the patients tend to have impairment of memory. And we should know that over 6.5 million in the US, zero point 0.5 people, 6.5 million persons in the United States are living with Alzheimer's.
Wow.
Okay? And these are age 65 and older. So as you get older, your risk of getting Alzheimer's increase. Okay? So it increases over 65, but over 85, it increases even more. So what are some of the signs of Alzheimer's? The thing about it, when we say, what's the difference between dementia and Alzheimer's? People hear the word all the time, but they're a little different. Alzheimer's is a form of dementia. There are other diseases that can cause dementia. For example, somebody who has a stroke can get dementia. Somebody who has Parkinson's can get dementia. Alzheimer's is a form of dementia. Okay.
Wow.
And it's probably the most common form of dementia. Now, we can talk about Parkinson's next week because that's another illness in older persons. But the thing about Alzheimer's is that Alzheimer's tend to range from mild, moderate, and severe. Okay? So you have mild, moderate, and severe dementia. So what is mild dementia? And the thing about it is that a lot of times persons are not even aware that their loved ones or their loved one is having dementia. Because, as we get older, we forget things. I'm sure almost everybody goes, what was I saying again? What was I supposed to be doing again? And
I am finding, I talk and I'm finding that I don't know, but I am thinking to myself sometimes, I'm having a point, I'm making a conversation, and here I am saying something, and I'm thinking, but I was trying to say something. I remember there, I was trying to make a point here, but the more, if I'm having a conversation and somebody keep talking, sometimes my it just goes away because I'm holding on to the point, But as the conversation goes on, I'm not tracking it anymore. And I'm trying to hold on to the point where I concentrate on what is being said, but I want to make the point. And then by the time the conversation gets to me, I forget what I want to say. And so I don't know. I just find it a little annoying that I and then have to go back and say, why am I not remembering this thing that I wanted to say? So I find I find that sometimes I find that I don't know if that's something that
No. So it's not just memory, because we all have, I mean, you ask a 5-year-old something and they may not remember, but it's not just memory. There's problem with memory, but there's problem with handling simple task. Simple tasks like paying a bill. Simple tasks like and it's not just simple but complex tasks. They might not be able to for example, they might not be able to find their way, use their navigation system to find their way. So they normally drive to the supermarket and they realize that they go to the supermarket, but they're confused about where they are. They sometimes have problems with language. And as I say, the symptoms get from mild to moderate. So you have mild dementia, right? Where basically you have just a little bit of change in the person's cognitive function, right? You might realize that there's just a mild decrease in their mental ability. But this is not severe enough for you to say that this person
have dementia.
yeah, and that is why initial stages, it might go on for a while before it is actually diagnosed, because the symptoms are not clear to say, oh yeah, this is it. Everybody has some issues with memory, but what happened with dementia is that, your grandmother will ask you, how was your when or will say something and they keep repeating it. They will tell you, did you know that the pot fell down, or the plant is or the tree, the mango on the tree, I just went and picked the mango on the tree. And then you're in the conversation, they'll say, I went outside this morning and picked the mango on the tree. And you're continuing the conversation and they keep telling you the same thing over, not remembering that they told you before. And what happens is that you probably just say, Mom, you told me that already. You're not even thinking about anything. You just
that she's having a problem remembering that she did
yeah,
say that.
yeah. And the other thing that she'll have is that that person, male or female, will have problems. They'll misplace things.
Right.
So all of us do that too. I mean, we misplace things, but they really misplace things. They will put things down and have no idea, where they put it.
You say and there's a popular thinking that when you misplace things, if I put it down with my left hand, that kind of thinking.
and
So
and
that could be the reason.
there are people who are, for example, she goes to the supermarket or he goes to the supermarket and he buys the grocery, but leave the grocery on the counter. And the worst one yet is buying the grocery and leave it in the trunk of the car. Just come home and go in and forgetting that you went to the groceries. And I'm sure people, I don't know how many people have done it, but when when your brain is so wired and you're programmed, sometimes you come home and then you go, oh my gosh, didn't I buy groceries? Let me go take it out of the car. Sometimes it all depends. And if you have an SUV or seat, probably if you have a car and it's in the trunk, you might not know that it's there, or you do. But they take longer time to complete task. So if you give them something to do, they're going to take a longer time, and problem solve is going to be the other thing. It progresses to where they become confused. They forget details about life. They forget, forget phone numbers, forget addresses, forget lots of things, just a regular detail. Somebody was an accountant, but they're unable to to punch in numbers, and then you know that something is really happening. Plus they have impairment of their short-term memory. The long-term memory is usually intact, but the short-term memory tend to be impaired. And so that's why they tend to repeat stories, or events that has happened in their life when they were children, and they keep repeating these things. Um, and eventually it can progress to the point where they're having difficulty even with grooming themselves,
Oh,
care of their daily needs, having problems showering or don't want to shower, having problems using a bathroom. Um, and sometimes it gets to the point where they may become agitated and start acting out. Um, they may get depression or anxiety. Sometimes they get paranoid. And because they lose things and they forget things, a lot of times their agitation is taken out on their caregivers or even the persons who live with them, because they will think that that person would have taken their stuff, or they took their money, they took their possessions, they took this. She knows she put it down. He knows he put it down here, and he's 100% sure, but he didn't put anything down. And then the anxiety is geared at that person to say you did this, or sometimes there's paranoia thinking that you're going to be hurt. The person who is, especially the
yes.
caregivers, is going to hurt them, so they are paranoid of their caregiver, and so a lot of times there's a lot of trust issues. And
Wow.
the thing is that it's not a matter of just trust issues, but it's because of their disease process. Their
Mm.
process. And these people, because of their confusion, they tend to wander. They tend to wander around. These are persons who are at risk for elopement, because they will run away because they're thinking that something is happening, or they will just wander because they're confused. And
Sure.
then they have difficulty sleeping. The insomnia is really, really real. They have sleep disturbances, and they may have problems with their bowel or their urinary problems. So these people might get accidents and stuff. And that is why caring for a person with Alzheimer's is difficult. It's difficult for the caregiver. It takes a special person to do it. And then the disease can actually progress to severe dementia.
Just hear you saying that, Doc, I can just think of a few people that I've come across.
Oh, geez.
No, I'm telling you, I just now, just by you saying that, my mind just start. I'm just thinking, So I just test myself and say, but I don't have the Alzheimer's yet. That's
Well,
true.
it's a very interesting conversation because it's so devastating to lose your loved one while they're alive. So you're watching your loved one fade, and it can pose that sort of anxiety and discomfort and distress. I had a close relative who suffered Alzheimer's, and during the time we were researching, we were looking for support groups, we were trying to find ways to, of course, deal with the issue. So, what is the difference then between Alzheimer's and dementia? Or is it just
No, 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 no. As I said, dementia is the broad brush of the whole brain damage and memory issue.
right?
Dementia basically it is encompasses all the disease or the vascular disease of the brain that causes these symptoms. So Alzheimer's is the most common form of dementia, but there are other things that can cause dementia. Any damage to the brain can cause dementia. So if you had a stroke and you got damage to the brain, you can get dementia. We call that vascular dementia. People with Parkinson's disease can get dementia. Alzheimer's is a form of dementia. So dementia is the what would I say, the parent group, and
Yes.
must fall under the disease.
So how do you distinguish it? What makes me demented versus vascular? Well, I guess the test would prove whether
Right.
it's
Exactly. So there would be definitely the studies with the brain cells that would tell you that this is dementia, this is, and furthermore, with Alzheimer's, there's really no, for example, Alzheimer's is just the buildup of the protein in the brain. And even with that, they're not sure how the proteins come about, how, but they just know that there's a genetic predisposition and aging causes that. But if somebody has a stroke and eventually have, because of decreased blood flow to the brain, there's damage to the brain cells, we would never call that Alzheimer's. Even if there's an overlap, we'd call it vascular dementia. But the problem is, the thing is, there's really not much in terms of difference in treatment. They're all semantics because the symptoms are basically the
The
same.
same thing.
Yeah. So it's a matter.
Potato, potato. Potato.
Again,
I said potato, potato. That is the concept of saying two same thing.
it's a
Same
little because the pathophysiology is different. For example, people with brain damage, those people who have increased head injury, who get a lot of damage to the brain, can actually get dementia. They don't necessarily get Alzheimer's because Alzheimer's pathophysiology is a little different. So, taking the history, you can group the persons into a different form of memory impairment. So, you will have, you can say that's dementia, not necessarily Alzheimer's, but we need to understand that the symptoms really are similar. The difference is that Alzheimer's tend to be more because it's so common, it's more studied, and the gradual decline is a little bit more profound in Alzheimer's. So Alzheimer's, as I say, mild, moderate, and severe, to the point where this person just gets worsening in terms of their entire function, where they are unable to take care of themselves. When they get to the severe stage of Alzheimer's, they are unable to express themselves. If they're hurting, they can't tell you where hurts. It's like having a baby. So they're at risk for abuse from their caregivers. They're at risk for getting infections. They're at risk for getting serious illnesses because they're unable to communicate, to tell you what is happening to them. So, yes, they will die from the complications because they're unable to present in the normal way. So, if they're having a urinary tract infection, they're not going to tell you that they're having low abdominal pain or that kind of thing. If they're hurting somewhere, they won't be able to tell that to you. You might, you realize that they're sick, they're having a fever, and then you might do a work upon the patient, send them to the hospital, and then they realize that they have an infection. But sometimes it's overwhelming because they've had it for a little while, and because of their inability to communicate, this might not be, then there may not be early treatment of this. But as I say, we're not exactly sure what causes Alzheimer's, but we know that there's a buildup in brain, in the abnormal proteins in the brain, and there's a genetic predisposition to it. But the thing to do with Alzheimer's, though, and I will always say the same thing, there are risk factors for Alzheimer's. Just having decreased stimulation, not moving, exercise,
decreased stimulation.
social interaction, decreased social interaction. People who are older need to have social interaction. And that is why I think we're having more. I don't know if we are, and the studies are, and I need to find that now. but we're hearing more about people with Alzheimer's than we used to hear when we were younger. And possibly it's because of the village that grew the children.
Doc, when you keep saying it, my mind just went right to that village. So we are thinking that this global village that we now have, that we can be everywhere except where our families are. It makes sense that we are able to now, do this worldwide tour, and we are in one place. But then what you just explained is that Indian chief, close knitted community that you would find in those days, when people would live in groups. Families are not far from each other. They are just maybe, in fact, it would probably be the same yard in a sense. Not the tenement yard situation, but then they would be living in the same community. They would have one big plot of land that all the family members would occupy, but they own like acres of land. And it's just the family that owns that land, and they are the family that owns the houses that is on that land. So the children, when they move from one house to the next, they're actually moving from a cousin, a grandma, an uncle, auntie, and it goes on like that. And because the same group of person that lives in that community that they are formed, and so what you just described is the absence of that kind of interaction. A newborn baby for a grandmother to sometime get to hold, or a grandfather get to see, that gives them some purpose of seeing the grandchild playing. And of course, you leave that grandchild and they get to watch him. And it was something that used to happen regularly. And it was, I think, just looking back in my mind, I see how interactive and how important it is now that you are talking about it. Then it was something that them just scare them people come left with them. But then there are cases when it do happen. But it was such a necessary thing to happen that what you're saying, it may have, if you do this study, it may link itself directly to it.
Right. So people who are basically by themselves, alone, tend to get, two persons were married, one died, and eventually the other one, you see the functional decline after the partner goes. It's horrible. And what we realize now is that we try to get older people tend to be you have a lot of wellness centers that will actually, your mom is at home by herself, then you can take her to these wellness centers where she interacts with lots of people to do a lot of activities. And the thing about it is that as we get older, exercise is very important. It's very important all throughout our life, and it's very important as we get older. We need to move more. So we need to take care of our bodies. So there are risk factors. People who have cardiovascular disease, people who have stroke, people who have brain injury, people who smoke, people who are obese, people who have high cholesterol. These are all factors. So in increasing our risk for Alzheimer's. So I will always say, how do we prevent any disease? It's the same thing for everybody. We need to eat healthy. Our diet is very, very important in preventing a lot of these diseases, because we're decreasing blood flow to the brain, we're decreasing blood flow to everywhere else. If we improve our blood flow, we tend to improve our memory and improve our chances of not getting Alzheimer's. So yes, we talk about the same thing every day: exercise, air, managing your stress, managing your going outside, getting sunshine, getting air, being temperate in what you do. It's the same every time. Most of our diseases are linked to our behaviors.
I say thank you, Doc, this morning for giving so much information to us this morning. And just to note that I'm trying to behave a little better these days.
Oh, wonderful. Awesome. That's awesome, Mikey G. But next week, we will talk about Parkinson's. Parkinson's disease, I mean, That's something that we haven't spoken about it. So we'll talk about Parkinson's disease, and then we said we were going to talk about halitosis. We can talk about that the other week. So yes, we have 2 weeks in down in terms of topics so far.
Oh yes, I know you have a vast array of information. I know you don't only talk about parasites. I'll forever bring up something about parasites every week. But there's always so much to share when it comes on to our healthcare. You can't be exhausted. I believe Parkinson's became popular when Michael, what's his name? Not Michael, not Mikey G, not you.
Michael,
But
Michael Manley.
this actor,
Oh,
yes, he was diagnosed, and suddenly everyone was talking about Parkinson's
was it
disease.
Michael J. Fox?
Michael J. Fox. You are correct, Mikey G.
Michael J. Fox.
Yes, he got the diagnosis, and then everybody was made
Right.
aware of.
And right. And even now, remember Bruce Willis?
Yes.
He has dementia, some form of dementia right now. Yeah, and I mean it's probably not Alzheimer's, but something else that's causing his memory to be. That's why I said it's a difference. It's not necessarily Alzheimer's, but there are other things that can cause dementia. And even Muhammad Ali, I,
Ah,
I think he had dementia too, but I think it was probably because of repeated traumatic brain injury.
right. And it's interesting that you bring that up because my mom, because we have relatives who had suffered from Alzheimer's, she's extremely careful about her diet, and she puts different things in place to try to limit or decrease her risk of
That's right.
I've having dementia.
Make
of
sure she moves. Make sure she gets her adequate amount of exercise on her diet. Yes.
what she does. Let me tell you what she her secret is she uses it's called soy lecithin granules, and
Mm-hmm.
she was informed reliably that it has an effect on her mental health. So she definitely makes sure that she has her soy lecithin every morning with her oatmeal.
Right, right, right. And then the soy lecithin too for women. It helps with their menopausal symptoms.
Ah. So you see, I told you my mom is a doctor at heart. She is she has she has her little book there that she does her little research and she's sharing. So yeah.
Mm-mm. So yes, and make sure at least we need to get adequate sleep. Adequate rest is important in terms of repairing our brain cells, and not just our brain cells but our body cells in our body. So we need to rest and make sure there are lots of other natural stuff that you can take that can help with your brain. And you don't need to wait until you get dementia. Start looking after your brain. It's very important to have that brain function. Having your independence is the best thing you can happen that can happen to you. We saw this 95-year-old man, and he was so slick. She said, I mean, the nurse practitioner went to him and was talking to him because he was sick and he didn't want to go to the hospital. And she said to him, "How do you feel?" And he says, "I feel with my hands." What do you use to feel?
That's a correct answer.
I'm telling you, he has made the right answer. Nurse aware of the right answer. Correct is
Stop with
perfectly correct.
that. She said, "How do you feel?" And he says, "I feel with my hands."
That's it. Well, that's a riddle for me this morning. Thank
You
you, Doc.
So there are lots of there are lots and so there are lots of older persons who are, I mean, literally, in terms of their brain function, man, you wonder, it's and a lot of times it's genetic. Their brain function, you meet these 100 persons and they're saying to me, oh, you can communicate to me, send me an email, um, shoot me an email or send me a text message. In a 100-year-old person, you're not expecting them to say, shoot me a text message or send me an email, communicate with me that way. It's like, oh my gosh, you're with it.
Yeah. That's there's a concept. It's either you catch up or get left behind.
Right, 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 right,
So
right.
that's where it is right now. You're either going to get with it or you're going to get leave you. And I guess many persons are trying their best to get with the program. Of course, it's a well spent morning. I tell you, wealth of information every single time. It has been a minute, and of course, our listeners have benefited significantly this morning, especially me. I just know now that I've seen so many people. I know I'm just thinking to myself, all the persons that I now know have dementia or some form of Alzheimer.
Really?
Yes, I'm thinking. I know. No, I'm thinking. I'm seeing it. I didn't know it
You
before.
know, it's time for the news, Mikey G.
Have a good day. Thank you.
Have yourself a better one, Doc.
Thank
I'm
you,
happy.
Doc.
I'm happy that you guys are well and dry in the Cayman Islands. I'm happy that Raphael
Ah,
do.
Yes.
Raphael, go away. Don't come back today.
Close call, Dr. K, close call. But indeed, we can say thanks. We are thankful this morning.
Yes, I'm happy. I'm happy. Have a good day now. Thank you so much.
That was our wellness morning, and of course, with our Dr. K this morning. It has been an extremely informative one, especially in the area of memory loss, and for those persons who are, no, can just test themselves or realize if, just do a quick check on whether or not they're having these simple diseases. It is, it is really an interesting twisting event, a very interesting twisting event to find, these testing these you know these points to say whether or not your family member, a close friend of yours, or somebody who you know very well, not necessarily in a friendship, but then just see their reaction or activity, even a co-worker, somebody
Yes.
at work,
Yes.
or maybe when your boss forget to pay you, or something like that. You can just say, my boss forget to pay me because he has dementia. And I know, you know what, and you just have to remind him, boss, you didn't pay me already the 15th of the month, in the following month, but and you could test that. You could test that theory by saying, boss, you didn't pay me last month, it's the 15th of the month already, and you didn't pay me yet. And he say, oh my God, you sure? If he pays you again, then you know he has dementia because you wouldn't remember that he had paid it the 25th already. That's it. That's my take. I don't know.
You would wonder, right?
Just, I just take it like that. So I think that's a good test for most persons who are employed. Check your boss out, see if he or she has dementia. By just testing them. I don't remember getting paid this month. And it says it's already the 15th of the month. What is it now? The 11th of the month or 6th? The 6th day of the month. And boss, it's already the 6th of the month and you haven't paid me yet. And if he says, you're right, then you know exactly what's happening. Then, you can also ask for it the following week. Again. All right, guys, enough tips and advice for you. I just want to say it's breakfast time.
I hope the employees of Flashpoint Radio are listening as well. So when you share these tips, remember. For a moment you forgot, right? The implications, the true implications.
Okay, sir, lots of memory.
Today is a big
But,
day for the US. It's a big day for Cayman Islands. It's a
well,
big day election. Into the wee hours they were counting. And I understand that a victory speech has been shared. Wow, what a time I have lived to see. It's an
all
interesting
right.
time.
Well. I don't know who win the election. I have not seen the person who win. I have not heard the victory speech, yet. But let's see. Our news comes up next, and maybe our news will bring some of that. I don't know if our news will bring any of that yet.
Let's see. Let's see. It's
Well,
news time. News time.
First news time is brought to us by Asai Ultrasound for all your ultrasound needs right here in the Grand Cayman Islands.
Of course, we are happy that our news is brought to us by Asai um, for all our ultrasound needs here in Cayman Islands. That's where we talk about Asai ultrasound imaging, sharing all that information with us this morning. And of course, we are extremely happy that we have the opportunity to, of course, share the news and share what's happening not only in Cayman Islands but also in the rest of the world. And of course, it is a beautiful Wednesday morning. We're happy to be dry this morning. Happy that we are indeed able.
938 3426. That's 345. When you need ultrasound that's safe and effective, you must visit Asai Ultrasound Imaging. They're conveniently located at number 4 Chestnut Center, Smith Road, Georgetown, Cayman Islands. With experienced technologists with over 20 years experience, their friendly staff will make you comfortable while you get your procedure done. Asai Ultrasound Imaging is open Mondays to Fridays, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Saturdays. Call Asai Ultrasound Imaging 345-949-2454 or 345-938-3426. That's 345-949-2454 or 345-938-3426.
Good morning, listeners. Here's what's making news on this Wednesday, November 6, 2024. Tropical storm Raphael hits Cayman Islands. The Cayman Islands experienced conditions across all three islands as Tropical Storm Raphael made its approach. Emergency shelters were opened throughout Grand Cayman, Cayman Brac, and Little Cayman, with a shelter-in-place order issued by the government beginning at 10 p.m. the night before. The storm caused substantial disruptions, and while damage assessments are still underway, officials are working to restore essential services and evaluate impacted areas. We'll keep you updated as more information becomes available. Customs detained 12 on Cayman Brac ahead of storm. A dozen people, reportedly from Cuba, arrived by boat on Cayman Brac early Tuesday morning and were detained by Customs and Border Control. The group, comprising 11 men and 1 woman, was transferred to Grand Cayman just before the storm hit. A CBC spokesperson confirmed that all migrants are being processed according to established protocols. Privy Council backs Cayman court in US $100 million legal dispute. London's Privy Council dismissed an appeal in a high-profile $100 million case involving a Cayman-based fund manager and a Kuwait investment company. The case involved around contested payments from the port fund and exempted limited partnership linked to Kuwait's public institutions. The Privy Council's ruling backs Cayman's Court of Appeal and closes the case, emphasizing the judiciary's discretion in such financial disputes. Suspended sentence for box cutter incident in West Bay Bar. Rudolph Anthony Brown, 62, received a 9-month suspended sentence after carrying a box cutter into Kelly's Bar in West Bay, stating he intended to use it only to open his drinks. Barr faced charges after an altercation broke out, but the court ruled out common assault and convicted him of carrying a restricted weapon. Caymankind in action. Volunteers support ahead of Raphael. In true Caymankind spirit, volunteers from across Cayman rallied to assist as Tropical Storm Raphael approached. Many helped deliver food parcels, while animal lovers lined up at the Cayman Islands Humane Society to foster pets, ensuring they were safe from the storm. Residents like Lucia Curry stepped in to foster dogs needing care, embodying the community's compassion during difficult times. Regional headlines. We go to Trinidad and Tobago. Robbery ends in cliff dive. In a shocking incident, 3 people in Maraval, Trinidad, were robbed at gunpoint after stopping to allow another vehicle to turn. The victims, threatened by armed suspects, were forced out of their car and ultimately had to jump off a cliff to escape harm. Police are investigating the incident. Still in Trinidad and Tobago. Trinidad and Tobago boost port security with new mobile scanners. Trinidad has received its first 2 mobile X-ray scanners, part of a $4 million purchase aimed at enhancing port security. The scanners, capable of inspecting cargo for contraband, mark a major step in tightening national security measures. Over to St. Lucia. Police seek help in Marigot homicide investigation. Police in St. Lucia are appealing for public assistance following the discovery of an unidentified male homicide victim in Marigot. The body, showing signs of violence, was found on Monday. The public is urged to provide any information to the Marigot Police Station or crime hotline. Caribbean earthquake jolts St. Vincent, Grenada, and Tobago. A magnitude 5.0 earthquake struck Monday night, felt across St. Vincent, Grenada, and Tobago. No immediate damage or injuries have been reported. The Trinidad-based Seismic Research Center continues to monitor the region for aftershocks. In Jamaica, Jamaica assesses Tropical Storm Raphael's impact. The Jamaican government has begun a nationwide damage assessment following Tropical Storm Raphael, which brought heavy rainfall, landslides, and flooding. Hard-hit areas include St. Andrew, St. Catherine, and St. Thomas, where roads have been blocked and infrastructure damaged. Teams are on the ground, led by the National Works Agency, to clear access and restore essential services. That's your news for this morning on Flashpoint Radio. Stay tuned for updates throughout the day as we track post-storm recovery and other developments across the region.
When you need ultrasound that's safe and effective, you must visit Asai Ultrasound Imaging. They're conveniently located at number 4 Chestnut Center, Smith Road, Georgetown, Cayman Islands. With experienced technologists with over 20 years experience, their friendly staff will make you comfortable while you get your procedure done. Asai Ultrasound Imaging is open Mondays to Fridays, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Saturdays. Call Asai Ultrasound Imaging 345-949-2454 or 345-938-3426. That's 345-949-2454 or 345-938-3426.
This was brought to you this morning by us. All right.
Yes, yes, yes. And before you get into the news, I just wanted to play this clip. I don't know if it's going to be loud enough for you to hear. Apparently, it's not. Let me just work on the volume for you to hear this one, Mikey G. You gotta hear all the stuff that's happening in the world. A lot of stuff
All
happening,
right. I
right?
think I think there's so much happening that
You
I
don't know
stayed
where
up
to
last night.
start, right?
I stayed up last night very late watching the United States election
Well,
that was taking
let's
place.
hear if you will hear this one as I try to share this one with you. Will it be something that you?
I will say this to you, Lady Alice. Here's
Yes,
where I'm going to go. Here's where
yes,
I'm going to go. We have listened to the election and, of course, the actual polling of persons polling. And, we could hear quite a few chatter on the ground, when it came on to the persons who would be um, voting and the choices and the rights and the reasons
yes,
why they are voting. And of course, we realized that the colleges, young people got involved in the election from the idea, of, well, in a wider cross section of young people got involved in this election this time
yes,
around.
yes,
Um, Probably was never recorded as many young people who were more interested in this election than any other time else in the history of the United States of America. They would have probably left it up to their parents to
yes,
vote,
right,
you know, to be those persons to let their voices be heard. But
right,
students came out and they voted early. Some of them very early before even the election day.
right.
That they did early voting, placed their ballots early because they wanted their choice or their
We
voices
overcame obstacles.
to be heard.
Yes, I think we are ready to hear that clip.
Right. But then here's where I'm going to go, Lady Elise.
Yes,
So this election is not a simple election. There's a lot of underlying conversations that are happening and
yes,
has happened, and reasons people came out in droves, in the last part of it.
yes,
Um, there was a saying that there's a large contingency of women voters that came out for the Kamala Harris campaign that decided, and the commentator was a man. He was saying, that the women, are educated women and stuff, and so they are coming out for Kamala, and the men who are uneducated are voting for Trump. So I mean, I've listened to chatter like those things, and these are prominent news medias that says stuff like this,
hmm,
and I listen to and I could hear the hearts of the people when they speak. But today there emerged a winner, and of course, Flashpoint will, but of
well,
course,
well, let's share this clip. Let's hear what you have to
share with
say.
you some of the
Yes.
things that came out of this election.
Okay, let's hear.
We overcame obstacles that nobody thought possible, and It is now clear that we've achieved the most incredible political thing. Look what happened. Is this crazy? But it's a political victory that our country has never seen before, nothing like this. I want to thank the American people for the extraordinary honor of being elected your 47th president and your 45th president. And to every citizen, I will fight for you, for your family, and your future. Every single day, I will be fighting for you, and with every breath in my body, I will not rest until we have delivered the strong, safe, and prosperous America that our children deserve and that you deserve. This will truly be the golden age of America. That's what we have to have.
Yeah.
You want to be the golden age of America. What here is something that we have not heard for a long time. And of course, despite the happiness and the joy of the win for this elected government, or the Donald Trump, who has won the election, it is not very happy on the other side, because it was a time when we believed that it would have been what you call a revolutionary time.
Yes.
The election came down to the women ideologies that says it's time for women to lead and run the government. And that was where the election actually was in Lady Elise.
Yes.
The whole concept of the election came down to it's a historic moment for women to take the leadership now. And, it's basically to say, men, stay in the back, and us women will now take the reign, because you have done a very poor job. And I've listened to the conversation. That's where the chain of thought was. And it came across like that. And many persons I see came out in droves to support the idea. I could hear popular and prominent female activists who would want the women rights and liberty to come forward. And I've listened to the conversation from every front. And I know there's a disappointing moment for many women in the world today, in terms of in the United States of America, even Canada and other places. Jamaica, the Grand Cayman, right here in Grand Cayman. I know lots of women are disappointed that Pamela did not get the chance to, show them that woman power rules this time. But here is something that we saw. And I'm not saying that it wouldn't be a good thing, because myself, I also wanted, in my, if I would say it like this, I publicly say, I wanted Pamela to win, to see what a woman president would bring to the table versus how many men would have been there before. You see? That's where my take is. So I was there sitting on my edge of my seat, and I was saying, even when Trump was in the front, I'm saying, there's still time. I was rooting for Kamala the whole time. I'm telling you. So people who didn't know, here I am rooting. And so
while you root, continue rooting.
come on,
I don't know if the official announcement has been made. Certainly, it is interesting to see what is happening across the U.S. this morning. It is an interesting scenario, and certainly we have to keep our ears to the ground.
Well, one thing for sure,
Yes.
what we know for a fact is that this election was not just one of the elections that just went on.
Yes.
Emerging president, victor of the election,
Yes.
was basically, character assassination was a big part of the campaign trail.
Yes.
He was targeted in a lot of ways, and that's what I would say, on various fronts, to bring him down with various different accusations of wrongdoing, and he was brought to court. He was convicted at one point for crime in the millions that was asked to pay for some of the offenses that he was being convicted of. And so I am saying that lots of persons who joined that witch hunt on him, I think thereby now they would have probably taken a helicopter already, or their private jets would have lifted off already, and have gone to a small island where there's no extradition treaty to come back from. Because I'm telling you, this, I mean, it is a hilarious thing to see, because you can imagine somebody who is trying to do all the bad things to you, and the next thing you come to be the one who's in control now. You know, I mean, there are people who are nervous right now. That's all I can say. There are lots of nervous people right now. They don't know what to expect at this point, and they know that you know, you can imagine that, you know, you went off and you did all the things that you could do, and now you have to answer it to this man who you have done all the wrongs that you could find to do to him. I don't know. It's just an hilarious turn in events. I mean, it's funny for some persons. I might be laughing about it, but for the persons who are actually facing the consequences of their action at this point, or the upcoming consequences of their action, I don't think they're so happy. And I think some amount of, you know, maybe some people can plead dementia at this point. I don't remember none of these things, Mr. President. I don't even remember being in court testifying against you and saying all those things about you.
Don't remember, right?
No, it wasn't me. Do the shaggy at this point.
Oh boy, that does not always work. That does not. It doesn't always work. You know.
But you know, for the better part, their people have spoken, Lady Elise.
Yes.
One thing we must know is that we have to respect. We have learned democracy rule.
Yes.
Respect what we have chosen.
Yes.
We chose a cat. It is our choice.
It's our choice.
We chose a goat. It's our choice.
Mm-hmm.
I just leave it there.
Gotta leave it there. Yeah.
I leave it there. Yeah. So nobody should go now and be upset. We have made a choice. And for those who did not vote, you have no choice. But in this buffet, you can't say I'm not a meat eater, so you put meat on the buffet. I didn't eat pork, and so I don't eat. You didn't choose to say I don't eat pork before.
Yes.
So when pork come up on your plate, you have to just eat pork now.
Yeah.
Don't be skeptical now. It's time to eat pork. You know, it's time to eat a little bit of, you know, for those who, you know, who didn't enjoy some iguanas before, you know, maybe it's iguana time. You know, I don't know. It's just some of those. So choices mean, for me, is that if I didn't choose, it means that I have already chosen. Because by not choosing, you know, you choose. You choose for somebody who you didn't choose to come on board to rule over you. So that would be the harsh reality of a person who say, I'm not voting for none of them because the two of them evil, and you did not make a choice either way. So whatever comes, accept that.
You have to just take what you get.
Yeah, the persons who have voted for Kamala, if Donald Trump does some, sorry, may I be excused and apologize. If the President Donald Trump, you have to give credit and due
Respect due
to the
every
persons
time.
who have earned their position of respect.
Yes, yes.
The President Donald Trump, you know, they didn't vote for him, and he's doing something ridiculous, then yes, you can talk. But if you voted against him, well, for him, then I guess you must keep your mouth shut. But if you're a Kamala Harris fan, then Vice President fan, then you would have said, I don't like how Donald Trump, the president, is ruling.
Yes.
And so we are objecting to it. You have a voice.
Yes.
The person who voted for him have a voice. The persons who did not vote, you don't have the voice to speak because you give that voice up on the right. Now you just accept whatever you get. And thank you, ma'am. And go in your corner and sit quietly and then enjoy the ride. That's all I got to say on this matter this morning.
I want to thank the listeners this morning.
But hold on, ladies, don't thank me yet.
Tune in to the breakfast hour.
Let's get this one for you. Cayman Islands is actually coming up in its own twist in events where we have a government at this point that is up for re-election. We are looking at the country now, looking at new governance or beefing up the support system under the present government to see if we can just weather the storm coming up to a new election. So this is happening. The UDP, leader Makiba Bush, the Honorable Makiba Bush, actually is now formed a new party, and these are lots of stuff unfolding. So maybe it's a very interesting time we are living in, ladies. Cayman Islands has its own sets of events that are unfolding right here in the Grand Cayman.
Yeah. But nonetheless, we are happy, we are thankful that you chose to join us this morning right here on the breakfast hour. And it has been a wonderful morning thus far. I hope you have enjoyed being a part of the breakfast hour, as we have certainly enjoyed it. Dr. K came along and spoke about Alzheimer's. This month is Alzheimer's Awareness Month, and of course, we certainly gained a lot of information. Just remember that we need to take care of our health. We cannot get spare parts anywhere. If you're a radiographer or anyone in that field or in the medical field, please be reminded that the continuing medical education is being hosted this afternoon at the Hibiscus Room, 5:30 p.m. right here at Georgetown, Grand Cayman Islands. So you can be sure to attend this afternoon. And thank you for tuning in for the breakfast hour. Mikey
Chris,
G.
guys, thank you for coming on and of course being a part of this beautiful program every morning right here on Flashpoint. Of course, continue to listen to Flashpoint at www.flashpointmedia.ky. Of course, our radio continues. Of course, lots of highlights will be coming up. Of course, ensuring that you get information through the rest of the day. Stay tuned to Flashpoint. Of course, stick and stay. Have yourself a beautiful one. And of course, go with God this morning.
Thank you so much. And just remind our viewers, Mikey G, when they can join us right here live on the breakfast hour.
But of course, every morning at 6:30, every morning at flashpointmedia.ky, every morning at 6:30. And of course, during the course of the day, we start our radio program, but then during the course of our day, the morning, by 7:30, our YouTube link will be up, our Facebook link will be up, and so you can continue to listen or see live programming at that time. I mean, we choose to do it like that the content is not too long and drawn out for you, so you can catch it two places. So if you're on our radio, this is how it works. If you start with me in the morning at 6:30, I'll be giving you some lovely songs, some lovely music, and some good talk, some conversations and stuff. We have some beautiful awesome conversation about different topics and topical issues that surrounds us and our nation, or even within our own culture where we live in our society, right?
Yeah.
But then by 7:30, we'll be coming on with some of our featured presentation, and so we tend to want to come on live and sometimes to stream some of those, and so we'll be on at 7:30 on our Facebook and our YouTube page, so you can look out for the links. And of course, so a way to do this is subscribe to flashpointmedia.ky. All right, once you subscribe to us, then what will happen is all the programs that is being presented will come to you immediately. Just click the notification bell so you can also be notified when the stream begins. All right, so do that.
All right, there you have it. Just remember that hurricane warning is still in effect for Little Cayman and Cayman Brac. That's on the National Hurricane Center. But Georgetown, Grand Cayman, we have been given the all clear. Cuba, it remains under tropical, and a hurricane warning is in effect for the Cuban provinces of Pinar del Rio, Artemisa, La Habana, Mayabeque, Yes, and of course, a tropical storm warning is in effect for the Cuban provinces of Villa Clara. Of course, we continue to keep an eye on Rafael as it traverses our Caribbean, and well, the track has changed significantly, so we will continue to monitor that. We are thankful here in Cayman, in Grand Cayman, that we were spared the brunt, and we will certainly get updates throughout the day to see how the sister islands have fared. To get you out of studio, as usual, we'll share our optimist creed this morning. Promise yourself to be too large for worry, too noble for anger, too strong for fear, and too happy to permit the presence of trouble. I'm Lady Elise, and of course, Mikey G.
Thank you very much. Have yourself a great day, guys. See you tomorrow morning, same time, same place.
Same
Thank you.
time, same place. Yeah, that's what we say. Taking you out of here.
It's like running in circles, going around every day, getting stuck in the hurdles of yesterday. Don't you wanna go further away from the fray? Let's not get stuck in our worries. We'll make our own way. Won't you come outside where the sunflowers bloom?